Oh my god. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Now, you're probably wondering what's going on? What's going on with this? We don't like it. What's going on? There's a couple reasons that I'm in front of the camera today. One of them being, I take a shot every single time I've not posted a video for 5 months and then came back and was like, oh, it's been a long time, guys. It's been a long time. So I decided I would change it up a little bit with this one. And so I'm in front of the camera for the first couple minutes of this video. Don't worry, don't worry. The review will still be the same. Number two, I filmed this video like a month and a half ago. The following video you're about to see. The British Grand Prix has just happened. And so some of the stuff, i.e. all the stuff I say about McLaren, looking kind of wrong right now. So I figured I would make a mention that, yeah, that was a while ago. I'm not wrong, it's just outdated. Number three, if you guys are truly dying to see more videos that I make, I have made some videos in the past 5 months. They're just not on this channel. They're on the Not On This Occasion YouTube channel. And there's a couple videos that I've made that are pretty similar to the videos that I make here. So check that out if you're at all interested. Also, there's the Instagram account. I do post some things related to F1 Diecast sometimes. I actually made a post over the weekend that I thought was pretty funny, but it actually just totally flopped. I guess it was a bit too smart for Instagram. I run into that problem every once in a while, just being too smart. If you guys could go over to that Instagram account and like the post, this post, if it gets like, coming closer, if it gets like 15 to 20 likes, 15 to 20, that's nothing, that's barely anything. I'll review the Saludo Alpine from last year. If it gets like 40-ish, 40-50, I'll review the McLaren, the Saludo McLaren. And if it gets just 1 million likes, 1 million, I will review a Look Smart 1/18 scale Ferrari. I'll spend $1,000 on it, I swear to God. And if it gets 7 billion likes, if every single person on this earth likes that post, I will finish the 2018 season diecast review. Everyone who's new and had never seen one of my videos before is probably like, what the hell is happening right now? And I agree with you. I don't know what's happening right now. On with the actual video. Well, here we are, folks. You thought I was dead and gone, but we're back to review the final Bburago cars, at least from 2022. Now first, we're going to be taking a look at the McLaren, the Daniel Ricciardo McLaren, the old box swipe, the old dust box swipe. Classic move on my channel here. I don't know off the top of my head, but this video is going to come out sometime around the... Oh, I gotta look it up now. You know, it's not going to be the exact date, but this video that you're watching right now is going to come out sometime around the 6-year anniversary of my first ever F1 diecast video. 6 years. I have probably said way more about F1 diecasts that I ever planned on saying, and I probably don't need to talk about them for the rest of my life. I've already said probably everything that can be said. Wow, 6 years. I made that video after I had just graduated high school, and I am now graduated from college. I hope that kind of puts things into perspective. I've been coming down here and sitting at this exact same bar for 6 years, albeit I haven't done it very often in the past year, I'd say. I've only kind of done it in short bursts, but no need to talk about that anymore. Let's finish this off. Let's talk about Daniel Ricciardo and McLaren. I'm sort of glad that I ended up waiting to review this car because I think I originally did start filming this video, this review for this car, and I ended up stopping because I didn't really have a lot to say, but I think now that we've kind of seen where McLaren has gone this year, it makes for a very interesting case study. I think Daniel Ricciardo and McLaren, we're going to be talking about this for years to come. I think this was a match on paper. This was a match made in heaven, Daniel Ricciardo and the newly emerging McLaren. It seemed like it should go so right, and it just went so wrong. And at first, including myself. I think a lot of us put the blame on Daniel Ricciardo. And I'm not saying that the blame isn't on Daniel Ricciardo, but if you look at where McLaren is this year, I don't know. And I think about McLaren as a team in general. Let's get this car off the base before I ramble off and forget what I'm doing. All right, here is the car off of the base. Now back to my point. I think of McLaren as a team ever since probably like 2012. It's been all disappointment, all potential, but then just disappointment. I feel like we've had multiple McLaren rebuilds or restarts. This is the next generation of McLaren, and we're back to square one, basically. But let's stop all that talk, and let's talk about this car from last season. Now, Bburago McLarens, I'm pretty sure they've made them in the past, but not for a long time. Not while I've been reviewing these cars. And I think I'm trying to channel back now. I got to jump back into the Bburago review. I don't remember. I remember the Alfa. I think the Alfa Romeo was pretty good. Oh, I think I just broke it. This is very weird, the way that the mirrors are kind of glued into. They're just like not interference fit, but it's like a piece. So this is probably the most fragile piece I've ever gotten on a Bburago car. I've always touted Bburago as being great because they're freaking toys. So you're not gonna break them, but I think I just did. I think I just broke my first Bburago car in this video. Okay, so some red flags potentially. Let's talk about them. So the front wing, oversprayed lines or blurry lines. The lines right here are super blurry. That doesn't seem right to me. I highly doubt that this is the way it's supposed to look. Just in general with the paint, the orange seems wrong to me. It seems, well, what it seems, I'm guessing it is that it's black and then the orange is painted over the black, so it kind of dulls the orange a bit. I imagine a bright papaya orange McLaren. That's what I imagine when I think of McLaren, and this is just not really the color. It seems, I don't know the word for it, but it's like a gross orange color. Like I don't really know how to describe it, but it doesn't seem like the correct orange. There's kind of a bit of overspray here. I guess it's not overspray, it's just a fuzzy line. It's not smooth. I should have looked at some of the other Bburago cars out of this season to really know what I was getting into. Also, another weird, just a weird thing is there's a little bit of, yeah, like a little bit of rubber still left over. I assume the way these are molded, there's like a rubberized piece of the mold that sticks out and connects multiple tires, and they just did not shave it clean off when they were taking this out of the mold. So I don't think I've ever seen that on a Bburago car before, so that is quite strange. Other details, I mean, it's the Bburago hallmarks, no light back here. The rear wing looks a little bit weird. I think the Alfa Romeo looked a little bit worse, the rear wing wise. The Alfa Romeo had that sort of clear coat on it that looked really weird on the plastic parts. This one doesn't look as bad, although you can see it kind of there. It looks a little greasy. You can see it on the very front here, but you can't really see it on the rear wing, and it doesn't look too bad. I'd say it's just the orange paintwork on this that's a little bit disappointing, which sucks because it's glossy, glittery, I guess, to a certain extent. It looks pretty good. It's got a lot of sponsors on it, and of course, we've never had a McLaren Bburago car before. Here's the floor. It looks really, really kind of greasy up here. This is from the Australian Grand Prix. Bburago's never used to have this detail where it said it was from a particular Grand Prix. That was brand new with the Alfa Romeos, basically. But yeah, this one, just a quick, I almost knocked that off again. Just from a quick glance, quick review, I'd say this is probably the weakest of the Bburagos so far from 2022. I think it's really the orange paint that is just not doing it for me. I feel like it's wrong. It doesn't look too bad right here, but the side pods don't look great. Also, it's just blank because I think Velo or whatever is supposed to be there, and they obviously cannot put that on a car, or a Bburago car at least. So I'll say this one's a little bit weaker, but it is cool to get a McLaren diecast from Bburago. So let's move on to the next one. And another team that's been nothing but disappointment for the past 15 years. Uh-oh, it's Ferrari. Here is the number 16 Charlie Leclerc Ferrari F175. This car started out last year just so good. I think recently Charles Leclerc said that after the French Grand Prix, or the French Grand Prix weekend, he kind of lost control in the car. He didn't feel comfortable. Well, he literally lost control of the car in the race, but he no longer felt comfortable. They had changed something in this car for the French Grand Prix last year, and it's never been the same since. And at least as of right now, it's not really getting any better for old Ferrari. And you know, it's interesting. I'm just kind of realizing it now. I guess save for Daniel Ricciardo, but I reviewed a Ferrari and a Mercedes in the first video. It was Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton back then. And so this Ferrari, and of course we're looking at Mercedes next too, this Ferrari and Mercedes are kind of the new generation. We are in a completely different era of Formula One compared to when I started making these videos. Daniel Ricciardo was in F1 in 2017, but in a much different state in just about every way. Performance-wise, team-wise, everything. This one looks really good. I love Ferraris as the more maroon burgundy type red instead of the bright, almost orangish color that they've been prior to 2022. And this car, it just screams, you know, 90s Ferrari, even though the 90s were not their best era. This car is just really, the livery on this is really, really good. I guess more accurately, I could say the color red on this is really, really good, because Ferrari, they don't really have a livery. It's red. Also, another thing that I really like about these Bburago cars is that they do a pretty good job of capturing the detail. This was an extremely unique design for Ferrari. The side pods here, the bathtub design. I think they just got rid of it for the Spanish Grand Prix, but this is a very, very unique design philosophy here. It's one thing I really liked about the 2022 cars. I'm kind of wishing they just went back to the 2021 cars, but more on that on the podcast. It's got that sort of greasy looking front wing, but it looks a lot better here. I think it's all covered like that. It doesn't look really sloppy, so that is pretty good. And then it's got a matte paint for the red parts. And I think this is probably the best looking one, honestly. Even with like the soft tires or whatever these ones are. I called the tires the wrong thing in the first video too. I'll never get them right. The medium tires.
But all of them are on super soft tires. So it'd have to be a race where super soft tires were on offer. And every race in 2016 had super soft tires. So that doesn't eliminate it. So I think they look really good on this car. I think it fits that they got the yellow-walled soft tires instead of the red. I almost just called this instead of the red soft tire. I think the yellow kind of pops off a little bit better with this. They did make the Italian Grand Prix version of this car. Bburago did. That's got the yellow on it. I don't know if I'll get that. Is this an air or is this the way the logo looks? It looks like it's cracked. What is this detail right here? Is this real? I've got no idea what this is right here. Well, first of all, I think this logo is just wrong because it looks like there's a crack in the side of the Ferrari. I mean, I guess it is a Ferrari, so it is probably broken in some way. But this is, I don't know what this is, but that's probably the most niche, obscure detail I've ever seen on a Bburago car. So bravo, I guess. They are trying to be pretty meticulous with the carbon fiber detail on the rear wing. There's like the little line detailing on it,
which wasn't on the McLaren at all. If you take a look at it here, you can see on the black part, there's no line detail whatsoever. Bburago, they're known for their Ferraris, so it's no shock that they're going to pull out all the stops for Ferrari. This is probably the best looking one. If you haven't got your hands on the Bburago Ferrari from 2022, I would probably get it because it looks pretty good. The detail is fantastic. I guess it's a pretty typical air. If I must say something that's wrong with it, the halo is black plastic. The red bits are painted over black, so you can see the color is a little bit different from this, which is just painted red, and this, which is painted black and then painted over red, similar to basically how the entire McLaren looks. And the lines are not perfect, but I've seen worse. I've seen a lot of these Bburago Ferraris. I've seen worse. This is probably the best Ferrari I've looked at, and probably the best Bburago car from 2022. But hey, I'm always a fan of the Mercedes. The Bburago Mercedes are usually my favorites. So let's see if that one takes the cake. And here it is, the 2022 Mercedes W13, driven by George Russell. I don't think I've looked at a George Russell car in 143 scale yet. I looked at the 164th one, kind of. George Russell, the new guy at Mercedes, but he did win last year. Only win for the W13. I don't know if the W14 is ever going to win because I think Red Bull kind of have everything on lock right now. But maybe I'll be wrong, you know? Maybe I'll be wrong. But I think that was an old thing on my videos that I used to say that I was never wrong because I knew everything. Boy, did I don't know. And here it is, the final Bburago from 2022, the Mercedes in all of its glory. It's on the hard tire, first of all, so I've got a soft, medium, and hard tire car in this video alone, which is interesting. And it looks pretty damn good. I am noticing some things that are a little weird, but we'll come back to those. The no side pod Mercedes, they just got rid of that for technically Monaco, but it made its real debut, I think, at Spain. Whoa. Hold on. I'm noticing some things that are very weird about this car. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The livery looks great. The first thing I noticed was the suspension right here. Very, very low detailed, chunky, fat, blotchy. It isn't cut like the suspension on the Ferrari where it's kind of like individual pieces. Now, it makes sense that they would go with a bit of a stronger design on a Bburago car because you don't want it to break. It's a kid's toy, basically. But this, I've never seen one quite like this where it's just one big glop piece and not kind of, at least sort of look like it's multiple different pieces. I mean, you can tell all these pieces are connected by plastic right there, but it's a lot thinner, it's a lot sleeker. I think the McLaren is a perfect example, though. I mean, this is defined. All the suspension pieces are singular, defined. There's not a big glob of plastic in the middle. So this one just looks kind of terrible. It must be said. There's also no carbon fiber detail on this whatsoever. But the real thing that got me was this. The mirrors. There is no way that this looks like this, right? There's not on the real car like carbon fiber or like metal or just like this big chunk of piece right here connected to the mirrors. Like, that can't be right. Right? I'll flash a picture up of the actual W13. Maybe I'm just not as familiar with that car as I thought I was. I went and grabbed the only other Mercedes W13 car that I have, the 164 scale, and it also has this huge piece. So I guess that's an actual winglet and an actual detail. Maybe it's caused by them having no side pods, that it just looks really, really weird. But, I mean, there's a winglet right here. So I guess this is correct. It just looks so jarring compared to the other mirrors, which are just kind of you know, kind of hanging out. But these cars have side pods, so it kind of, maybe it makes sense. Maybe there's a rule somewhere that say the mirrors have to be on a certain point. I have no idea. I always thought this car kind of looked weird when I reviewed the 1/64 scale. Super kind of like boxy right here, the way that the halo kind of flows all the way back. Kind of looked weird, but that's one of the things about these cars is that they're all very, very unique. I traditionally really like the silver on the Mercedes Bburago cars. I think this one looks great as well. I don't see any painting blemishes with it, really. There's pretty good detail. There's carbon fiber detail on the rear wing, which wasn't present on the McLaren, and I don't think on the Alfa Romeo either. This is very obviously a sticker, though, on the inside of the rear wing. That kind of looks like shit. But it's not... it's kind of shitty. It's really shitty. I'm not going to get a good angle here of it, but I don't even think this sticker is on correctly. Like, if I got a pair of tweezers, I could probably rip that right off. So that's, I don't know. It's come to expect from Bburago, I think. But other than that, it's solid. It's a pretty solid car. I don't think it's better than the Ferrari. I typically like the matte finish cars better than the glossy ones. I feel like that's the first Ferrari since 2019 that had a matte finish on it. I could be wrong. 2021 might have it, but I never got that car out of the box, so I'm not sure. But I haven't really even talked about the floor, although we've showed it. Wonder if it's all a different piece. They look different. They're all different. I don't know if they're accurate to the real car, but the floor is kind of a guessing game. You can't see it unless you're being lifted by a crane. But I'll say this one is good. Definitely better than the McLaren. I'd recommend it if you're a fan of Mercedes. I don't know if I'd recommend the McLaren. I think it looks a little crappy. Just the paintwork on it is not good. But I give major shouts to the Bburago team. They must have got an influx of cash that allowed them to create 6 separate molds. To create, I think it's 6, right? 5 separate molds for the 5 different teams that they made cars for. And now, let's look at them all. All right, I don't think I've ever had to fit this many cars onto a screen before, but hey, let's do a quick game. Let's do the top 5 Bburago 2022's cars, the top 5 of them. Yeah. The cars, I think, turned out the best of these 5 releases. First time Bburago's ever done 5 cars. I feel like I should have said this like 5 months ago when I was making the videos originally, but it's over. Better late than never. Whatever. Number 1. No, let's do number 5. Number 5 is the McLaren. It's not terrible, but the main paintwork is not very good. And I just think the detail's pretty good. It's got some interesting elements to it, but it's the paintwork, honestly, that does it for me. It's just not great. Number 4, I know I gave this car high praises in my original review. It's the Red Bull. Ultimately, the main thing for this car is that it's the same as every other Red Bull I've ever reviewed. It's just boring. It's like they're stinking up the show this year. Their livery is just not that interesting. Well, it's not, it's the same. It's the same. But it is a nice looking car. It's got their interesting take on the side pods. Very thin up top. So I do like that quite a bit. But ultimately, it's going to be 4 for Red Bull. And now onto the podium. Number 3 is the Mercedes. We just looked at it. It's really good. Really good looking car. There are just ones that I think are better. End of story. Number 2. This is a very difficult one. This is probably a tie. There's probably a tie for number 1. I'm going to say number 2 is Alfa Romeo. I think the livery is really good, and it's really cool to see Alfa Romeo. Of all the teams that they made a car for, Alfa Romeo Sauber is kind of surprising. I think Alfa Romeo is a very unique and well-known brand outside of F1, but as an F1 team, it's kind of a surprise to see Bburago make a diecast for them. But I don't know how popular Alfa Romeo is as a team in Italy, so maybe that's why Bburago did it. I'm pretty sure Bburago's an Italian company, so makes sense, And number one, well, there's only one left. It's the Ferrari. The livery just looks really good. I mean, I'm on this channel. I'm giving praise to a Ferrari livery. It's one color. It's the color red. It's always been the color red. I can't even believe myself. I've talked so much shit about Ferrari on this channel. And here it is. Their first place since 2008. So get that one, Ferrari. Get that one on the chin. You finally won something. Your Bburago looks the best. This extremely prestigious award given to you by some guy on a YouTube video. And ladies and gentlemen, after what has to be 6 months, finally looked at all the Bburago cars from 2022, or at least all the different teams that have been released this year. There's one more car that I also reviewed from Bburago 22. Let me go find it real quickly. Well, okay, the car that I was referring to was the Zhou Guan Yu, because, it's a Bburago 2022 car. I, of course, looked at it, but I totally forgot somehow, even though I've probably featured it in every single review so far, but I also have the 2022 Alpine with Fernando Alonso. I somehow completely forgot about this car until just now. I hope that gives you more of a perspective on how often I think about these F1 diecasts when I'm not filming a video. I completely forgot I even had a car, and I've looked at it in like I'm sure this one got at least 2 of its own videos. And it was also in the broken video. It's all coming back to me now. Speaking of coming back to me, it is not very often these days that I take a look at the shelf that I've got some of the F1 diecasts, some of the more recent ones that I bought. And we've looked at some pretty awesome cars on this channel so far. I just got a blast of almost excitement from looking back at the 2022 and 21 AlphaTauri, the Aston Martin, Sebastian Vettel, the Mercedes from 2020. A lot of those cars that I didn't forget about them, but I just haven't really stopped and looked at them for a little while. We've got Saubers, Williams. I mean, there's just a ton of cool stuff. And here are the 2022 cars that got videos. This is all of the 2022 cars that I have. And probably it will remain that way because 2022, I've said this in a lot of videos, it's last year's news now. So on to 2023, I guess. I don't know what the video schedule or structure is going to be on this channel moving forward, because there's just a lot that I'm doing now. But I assure you, when there is a cool diecast to talk about, I will be there. It may not be as soon as it comes out. It may be 6 months after it comes out. It may be next season by the time that I finally get to it. But I do keep in mind, I still look at some of the listings. I still know what's out there. So, yeah, I don't really know how else to say anything. Well, that's not how I just proved that statement by saying that because I have no idea what I'm saying. I don't know if I got any better at speaking since I started filming these videos, but yeah, that's going to do it for now. Thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe to the podcast stuff if you want to hear me talk more about F1. There's a lot of stuff I talk about on there that I just can't on this channel because it just doesn't really fit with what we do here. But until the next video, I will see you guys and have a wonderful life. Yeah, that's a good way to end this video. Fucking maybe, I don't fucking know. That sucked!